aesthetic is really outside of my comfort zone. I would say my default setting is all things goblincore, so I sort of avoided the comments requesting a video on this topic until one day I decided I should look into it, and it ended up that the colors and patterns I thought would be obnoxious turned out to be really bright, cheery, and welcoming. So living with half of my room being sort of indie aesthetic for the past few weeks, I've definitely grown to really like it, and a room makeover might need to happen. Either way, I have a lineup of projects I'm really excited about, and I hope you guys enjoy, so here they are.
Jewelry. Up first is a chain, and safety pins are a massive aspect of indie decor in general, so I'm incorporating those as well as hand bending some different jump rings and loop pieces to connect to make a jewelry piece, either a necklace or a bracelet, however long you want to make it. Just take whatever wire you have. This can be super thin jewelry wire, some sort of medium grade craft wire like I'm using here, this is 18 gauge, or a lot thicker wire for some really chunky, interesting pieces. I made a ton of just the really simple circled jump rings in varying sizes, as well as sort of these bent in almost infinity sign ones, as well as some straighter pieces with loops at either end to make some more extending pieces, and every few of the handmade ones I attached a safety pin as well. This doesn't have to be just one dimensional though, you can also hang safety pins or different metal pieces off of the initial chain and they can look like charms. Next up are paper beads. My inspiration for this is that if you just go into a craft store and try to buy some beads, oftentimes they can be pretty pricey, and as far as I know, almost everyone has a piece of paper lying around, so grab some cardstock, some printer paper, or even a magazine page, and mark a long strip the width of the bead you want. Then mark the center on one of those sides and make some lines from that center piece to the opposite end at those two side points to create a very gradual triangle piece. This is what you will use to then glue and wrap around a object to create your bead. The object you use to wrap around and glue the paper though is definitely important because it creates the gap in the center of the bead, and depending on what you want to string this onto, that's definitely going to vary. If it's going to be a piece of really dainty jewelry wire, you can obviously use a super small object, but I want to predominantly use mine to lace onto shoes, and shoelaces are quite wide, so I definitely had to use a larger object for that so that I could make sure that these would lace on properly. Making sure not to glue onto the actual object and just the paper so I can slip it off easily, you can leave it like this, or you can paint the beads and even add little dots and designs if you'd like, seal them off with some glue or Mod Podge, and they're done. The last jewelry related thing I wanted to mention is that if you are looking for more of an affordable option to beads than at a craft store, I would definitely recommend going around to thrift shops and looking at their costume jewelry. These can often look really gaudy and ugly on their own, but are super cheap, and once taken apart, you can use some of the beads for different projects, and those can turn out really cool sometimes. You can string these onto rings, necklaces, whatever. Also, in about 3rd grade, I was obsessed with collecting erasers, and because of their really bendable quality, I find that you can stick wire into them and also make some really cute pieces that are very indie aesthetic in this sort of bright, childish way. So that's another option you can do if you have some fun erasers lying around. You can even cut some stick erasers up and add designs to those. Clothing. This segment surrounds spicing up clothes with paint, but in 3 different ways. The first is to make ordinary acrylic paint into more fabric-friendly paint. To do this, I mixed about a tablespoon of shaving foam and half a tablespoon of glue into 3 small squirts of different paint that I then added onto my fabric. I cut this test piece in half and heat pressed only one of them. I then did a little wash test, and the one without heat pressing held up better than normal acrylic paint, but the one that was heat pressed held up even better than the first. So a bit of shaving foam, some school glue, and ironing, is a super cheap dupe. It's obviously not going to be quite as durable or vibrant, but I think definitely a really great option. This can be used just directly onto your clothing piece, just a brush and some ideas, and you have a really personalized item. Another way you can use this paint is in a patch form. So instead of painting directly onto your piece, you can paint onto a different piece of fabric before stitching it on. I did something similar in my original cottagecore video, and I just absolutely loved the project, but I was doing that on a book cover and not on a piece of clothing, so I didn't have to use the fabric paint version of acrylic. So I thought I would present the idea again because I just really like how it looked. I made a little heart with mine and did a felling stitch with some yellow embroidery floss to make the design really pop. The last and my personal favorite option is to make a pin. You don't have to use the fabric version of the acrylic paint for this because you can obviously remove it off of your clothing. And the method is just to paint a design on fabric. I'm using denim in all of these just because I have a lot of scrap denim and it's obviously a pretty durable material, but you can use pretty much any material you'd like. And once your design is done, you're going to grab your hot glue gun and squirt quite a bit on the back of it. Then spread it out using a popsicle stick or whatever you have lying around before adding on a safety pin. When adding this on, make sure that it sits almost flush with the hot glue to prevent a gap forming between wherever you're pinning it to. So make sure you almost completely flatten out that pin. Grab some school glue or Mod Podge to finish sealing off the top of your design, and it's done. Decor, fake records, and covers. There are very few rooms you see decorated in indie decor without these elements, so a super easy way you can make them is by grabbing some cardboard or even paper and cutting them to size. You can totally make it whatever size you want. I'm just using some other records that I have for reference. And then it is completely up to you on how you decorate these. Of course, a classic record is in the circle shape with the black base and just a small circle in the middle, and then usually an area where the songs are written on. This can be in a color or have a picture on it. And the covers vary from super light pastel pictures to really geometric, bright shapes. You can completely make up a cover and record, write a fake name for the album, write fake song names, or you can look up pictures and try to base it off of something, do a combination of both. I made one sort of like a geometric 80s almost collage. I made another cover with some stripes and then sort of a 70s swirl. Both my vinyls were super simple with just the base black and then blue and green centers. You can hang these up with masking or painter's tape and add any little details that you like. Super simple to do, but a major key element in this aesthetic, so I would definitely recommend making a few of these and pasting them up across your wall.
And besides safety pins and records, something else I saw popping up everywhere in inspo pics were Polaroids. But I'm definitely aware that not everybody has Polaroid cameras, and frankly the film is kind of expensive. So when I saw this picture and course on Skillshare, my mind instantly went to this fun painting or dupe Polaroid decor piece. It's a super simple process, just cutting out a piece of paper and taping off the certain areas so that when peeled back, your painting looks like it's in the Polaroid type frame. And just in general, I've been really enjoying the watercolor courses on Skillshare. They are the sponsor of this video, and if you don't know, they are an online learning community with thousands of courses. I've taken Bernadette's hand sewing course, I've taken an embroidery course, I took Peggy Dean's painting veggies watercolor course with my mom over the weekend. We made a little party out of it and it was just such a blast. So if you'd like to learn how to watercolor or dive into pretty much any other hobby, Skillshare is offering a 1-month entire free trial to the first 1,000 people to click the link in my description. You can explore all of the courses. They seriously have so many options, and they definitely were the inspiration for this project. So thank you again, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video.
Scrap fabric plants. I'm always looking for ways to use up fabric scraps, and this is probably my favorite method yet. It is so incredibly easy. All you need is some material. You could even make a rainbow one if you like, but I'm using green to make it most realistic, and cutting out random leaf shapes. You can make these circle, really oblong. You can make them in sort of heart shapes for more of an English ivy vine. You can make little clover shapes. Really is completely up to you. And for the vine to attach those leaves to, you can use string, ribbon, twine, or even a cut piece of the fabric that you used for your leaves. I did a few variations of textures and colors and glued them in different ways. If you glue them around the vine, you can sort of create some more dimension. You can glue them in clusters. You could add flowers to these vines. And when you're done with these, you can drape them across bookshelves or along walls, or if you wanted it to be more of a singular plant with a vines coming out. You can throw some scrap material into a little plant pot, put some bigger cutout leaves in that, drape your vines out of it, and set it somewhere. Or if you'd like to hang it up, you can make a super easy, simple, just folded haphazard macrame hanger with a piece of string tied together, flipped into a loop. Set that pot on the X, pull that loop over, pull it over the opposite way, and fold both those sides in, grabbing the under loops from either end and pulling until it cinches under, then hanging it up like that. There are a ton of different ways to make macrame hangers though, with lots of beautiful knots and stuff. So however you like to display it, you can use the vines simply, put it in the plant pot and set that somewhere, or hang it up with some sort of hanger.
Like I said in the beginning, this is definitely not my usual type of content. You probably know that if you've seen any of my other videos, but honestly, with my last video being royal core and this one being indie, I've just had such a great time experimenting with things I don't usually do. It's genuinely been so fun to come up with projects and just kind of dive into a world of a completely different aesthetic. Anyway, I just hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really loved the projects in this one, and thank you so much Skillshare for sponsoring it. I hope you have an incredible rest of your day, and I shall see you in my next video.